It was supposed to be a done deal, a sure thing. In late 2023, NATO announced its choice for the future eyes in the sky, the American-made Boeing E-7 Wedgetail. But then, the entire multi-billion-dollar program for a pooled Allied fleet collapsed, creating a power vacuum in the skies over Europe. And in the chaos, one nation made a shocking pivot. This is the real story of how France ditched the expected path with Boeing, and how a Swedish underdog, the Saab GlobalEye, swooped in to win a massive contract, fundamentally altering the future of European air power. We're going to expose the superior technology, the deep-seated political ambitions, and the critical desire for strategic independence that drove this monumental decision. This isn't just about one contract, it's about the future of warfare and Europe's place in it. To understand the magnitude of France's decision, you first need to understand the crisis that forced its hand. For over 4 decades, the backbone of NATO's airborne surveillance has been the E-3 Sentry, better known as the AWACS. These are flying command posts, easily recognizable by the massive rotating radar dome on their back. From high altitude, a single AWACS can monitor a battle space the size of a country, detecting enemy aircraft, missiles, and ships hundreds of kilometers away, and directing friendly forces to intercept them. They are the quarterbacks of the sky, the irreplaceable nerve centers of any major air operation. France operates its own fleet of 4 E-3F Sentry aircraft, which have been in service since the early 1990s. Like the larger NATO-owned fleet, they are based on the Boeing 707 airliner, an airframe design that dates back to the 1950s. And that is the heart of the problem. These critical assets are old. They're becoming astronomically expensive to maintain. Their operational readiness is strained, and their 1980s technology is struggling to keep pace with modern threats like stealth aircraft and hypersonic missiles. Both France and NATO have set a hard deadline. The E-3 fleets must be retired by 2035. A ticking clock was counting down, and the alliance desperately needed a successor. For years, there seemed to be only one serious answer: enter the Boeing E-7 Wedgetail. Based on a modern and reliable Boeing 737 airliner, the E-7 was a giant leap forward. Instead of a mechanically rotating dome, it features a massive, fixed dorsal fin containing a state-of-the-art multi-role electronically scanned array, or MESA radar, built by Northrop Grumman. This radar can look in multiple directions at once, tracking a vast number of targets with incredible precision. The E-7 is a proven system. It's already in service with Australia, South Korea, and Turkey, and the UK has them on order. Crucially, the United States Air Force itself had selected the E-7 as its own E-3 replacement, seemingly anointing it as the new Western standard. For NATO, the path seemed clear. In November 2023, a consortium of allies announced their intention to acquire 6 E-7s to form the core of the new Alliance Future Surveillance and Control capability. The logic was undeniable. It offered massive capability, a proven track record, and perhaps most importantly, complete interoperability with the United States. Following the American lead has long been the default position in NATO procurement. It simplifies logistics, training, and joint operations. The E-7 was the safe bet, the powerful choice, the heir apparent. It was, for all intents and purposes, a done deal. Section 3. The collapse. Cracks in the American shield. The seemingly unstoppable momentum behind the E-7 began to fracture in 2025. The first shockwave came from the program's biggest champion, the United States itself. In its fiscal 2026 budget request, the Pentagon announced its intention to cancel its own E-7 acquisition. The reasons cited were a toxic cocktail of problems that sent alarm bells ringing across the Atlantic. Costs were ballooning, but the most damning indictment was a fundamental shift in military doctrine. The Pentagon raised serious concerns about the E-7's survivability in a contested environment. The brutal realities of modern warfare have shown that large, non-stealthy aircraft are disturbingly vulnerable to sophisticated long-range surface-to-air missiles. An AWACS, based on a civilian airliner, presents a huge target on radar. Its powerful emissions make it a beacon for enemy sensors. The idea of a lumbering 737 operating anywhere near a modern battlefield against a peer adversary suddenly looked less like a powerful asset and more like a high-value, slow-moving target. The U.S. declared a pivot in strategy. Instead of relying solely on these vulnerable airborne platforms, it would heavily invest in a resilient, distributed network of space-based sensors to take over the mission. This American U-turn pulled the rug out from under the NATO program. In July 2025, the U.S. officially withdrew from the multinational E-7 consortium. For the remaining European partners, this was a catastrophic blow. As the Dutch Ministry of Defense stated, without the Americans, both the strategic and financial foundations were lost. The sheer cost of the program was now too much for the smaller group to bear, and the core strategic logic of following the American standard was gone. By November 2025, the NATO E-7 program was officially dead. The collapse left a gaping hole in Europe's defense plans. With the 2035 deadline looming, the continent was left scrambling. This chaos, this sudden vacuum of power and planning, created the perfect opportunity for an underdog to emerge from the shadows. And it gave one nation in particular, France, the opening it had been waiting for. While the world was focused on Boeing's heavyweight, the Swedish defense giant Saab had been perfecting a radically different philosophy of airborne surveillance. Their creation is the GlobalEye. Where the E-7 is built on a large commercial airliner, the GlobalEye is based on the sleek and hyper-efficient Bombardier Global 6500, a long-range business jet. This choice of platform isn't just a minor detail, it's the core of its design philosophy. Using a smaller airframe immediately translates to dramatically lower operating costs, smaller crew requirements, and the flexibility to operate from shorter, more austere airfields, a critical advantage in a conflict where major airbases would be primary targets. But don't let the smaller size fool you. Packed into this airframe is some of the most advanced sensor technology on the planet. The heart of the system is Saab's AirEye extended range radar, housed in a distinctive ski box fairing above the fuselage. This is an advanced active electronically scanned array, AESA, radar, using next-generation gallium nitride, GaN technology, which gives it incredible power and sensitivity for its size. It can detect and track threats at ranges that can exceed 550 kilometers. But here's where the GlobalEye truly differentiates itself. It's not just an airborne early warning and control aircraft. Saab markets it as a true multi-domain surveillance system. Unlike the E-7, which is primarily focused on the air domain, the GlobalEye integrates an array of additional active and passive sensors. This includes a dedicated maritime surveillance radar under its belly, capable of detecting targets as small as a submarine periscope, along with signals intelligence suites and advanced electro-optical cameras. It can simultaneously watch the sky for stealth fighters, scan the sea for hostile warships, and monitor the ground for vehicle movements. It provides a single integrated picture of the entire battle space, air, land, and sea, to commanders in real time. This isn't the American approach of overwhelming power and scale. This is the Swedish philosophy of efficiency, a scalpel designed for the complex, multi-layered warfare of the 21st century, standing in stark contrast to the E-7's powerful but arguably blunt force approach. And as the NATO plan crumbled, this smart, efficient, and distinctly European solution was suddenly looking very, very attractive. Section 5. The Tale of the Tape, a Clash of Philosophies. When you place the Boeing E-7 and the Saab GlobalEye side by side, you're not just comparing two pieces of military hardware. You're comparing two fundamentally different approaches to modern warfare. On one side, you have the E-7 Wedgetail, built on the workhorse Boeing 737. It's large, robust, and has immense endurance, especially with air-to-air refueling. It can host a large mission crew, making it an exceptional airborne battle management center. But its size is also its weakness. It has a massive radar signature and is a more prominent target in a contested environment. On the other side, the GlobalEye's Bombardier Global 6500 platform is smaller, faster, and more discreet. It's a business jet, not an airliner. This means it's less of a target, can fly higher, and costs significantly less to fly per hour. The trade-off might be in raw endurance and the size of the onboard crew compared to the 737, but it gains immense operational flexibility. The E-7's MESA radar is a powerhouse, a proven system optimized for managing a large-scale air war. It is, without a doubt, one of the most capable airborne radars in service today. The GlobalEye's AREI-ER radar, however, is the newer technology. Its use of gallium nitride semiconductors gives it a performance edge relative to its size and power consumption. While its stated air detection range is over 550 kilometers, its true strength lies in its multi-domain integration. The E-7 can do surface surveillance, but it's a secondary function. The GlobalEye was built from the ground up to do everything at once, with dedicated sensors for air, land, and sea, fusing that data into a single, coherent picture. This is where the divergence is sharpest. The E-7 is an American system, top to bottom. For European nations, this means reliance on the US for sustainment, upgrades, and permission to modify, governed by strict regulations. It represents a continued technological dependence on a partner whose strategic priorities are increasingly shifting. The GlobalEye is a European product. For a nation like France, this is a critical distinction. Buying from Saab means investing in the European defense industry, fostering collaboration with a European partner like Sweden, and owning a system free from American oversight. It is a declaration of industrial and technological independence. The E-7 represented the old way of doing things, a transatlantic consensus built around a massive, powerful American-led platform. The GlobalEye represented a new path, agile, efficient, multi-domain, and distinctly European. With the old way in tatters, France saw its moment to choose a new direction. On December 30th, 2025, the French government made its move. The French procurement agency, the DGA, signed a contract with Saab for 2 GlobalEye aircraft, with an option for 2 more. The deal was a geopolitical bombshell, with deliveries scheduled to begin in 2029. To call this a simple aircraft purchase is to miss the point entirely. This was a profound strategic statement. For decades, France has pursued a doctrine of strategic autonomy, the ability to act independently on the world stage to protect its own interests, without being beholden to the political whims of other nations, particularly the United States. This ambition has been a cornerstone of French foreign and defense policy since the days of Charles de Gaulle. The collapse of the NATO E-7 program was the perfect catalyst for France to put this doctrine into action. While other nations might have seen chaos, Paris saw an opportunity. The American pivot to space, the vulnerability of large platforms, and the fracturing of the NATO plan all validated France's long-held skepticism about over-reliance on the US. A Dutch official, commenting on the E-7 program's failure, explicitly said the US withdrawal shows the importance of investing as much as possible in the European industry. France couldn't have agreed more. Choosing the GlobalEye was the ultimate expression of strategic autonomy. It sidestepped Boeing and the American defense ecosystem entirely. It invested billions into a fellow European nation's industry, strengthening a Franco-Swedish defense partnership. And it provided the French military with a cutting-edge, multi-domain surveillance capability that it could operate, upgrade, and deploy without asking for Washington's permission. Saab's CEO, Mikael Johansson, captured the significance perfectly, stating that the choice reinforces France's commitment to sovereignty and strengthens Europe's overall protection. It wasn't just about replacing old planes, it was about building a new, sovereign European capability from the ground up. France didn't just buy a new AWACS, it bought its freedom of action. France's decision to buy the GlobalEye sends ripples across the entire global defense landscape. The consequences are massive and multi-layered. For NATO, the alliance is now at a crossroads. The dream of a single, standardized fleet to replace the E-3 is over. The UK will operate the American E-7. France and Sweden will operate the GlobalEye. Other nations like Germany are now reportedly showing huge interest in the Swedish platform, potentially following France's lead. This has led to a two-tier NATO in the skies, a bloc flying Wedgetails, and a growing European bloc flying GlobalEyes. While the systems are interoperable, it signals a clear divergence in procurement strategy. NATO itself is now considering GlobalEye as a potential option to replace its own fleet. A stunning reversal from the days when the E-7 was the only game in town. For Saab and Boeing. For Saab, this is a monumental victory. Landing a customer as prestigious as France elevates the GlobalEye from a niche product to a world-leading system. It validates their design philosophy and positions them as a dominant force in the European defense market. For Boeing, it's a significant blow. Losing the NATO deal was bad enough, but seeing a major European power actively choose a competitor over the E-7, even after the UK bought it, undermines the narrative of the Wedgetail as the sole heir to the AWACS throne. For the future of warfare, this decision marks a pivotal moment. It signals a clear trend away from large, single-role platforms toward smaller, more efficient, and multi-domain systems. The future is not about one God's eye view from a single expensive asset. It's about a networked web of sensors, on business jets, on drones, and in space, all working together to build a resilient picture of the battlefield. France's choice is a bet on that future, a future that is more distributed, more autonomous, and more European. Call to action. This decision is just the beginning of a major shift. We're going to see a domino effect across Europe in the coming years. What do you think? Is France making the smart move by prioritizing sovereignty, or should NATO have found a way to stick with a single platform like the E-7? Will the GlobalEye become the new backbone of European air defense? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on the biggest shifts in military technology and geopolitics, make sure you subscribe. Your support helps us continue to do these deep dives into the stories that truly matter. So, the real reason France ditched Boeing wasn't just about cost or delays. It was about a once-in-a-generation opportunity. The collapse of the NATO E-7 deal, driven by America's own changing priorities, gave France the political cover and strategic justification to make a choice it has wanted to make for years. They chose a platform that reflects the future of warfare: agile, multi-domain, and efficient. But more than that, they chose a European platform that embodies their deepest national ambition: strategic autonomy. The purchase of the Saab GlobalEye is more than just a contract. It is a declaration that Europe, led by France, is ready to take control of its own skies and forge its own destiny, no longer content to simply fly in the shadow of the United States. The question now is, who will be next to join them?